Hi, welcome to part 2 of the series of videos where we're going to create an accountancy or bookkeeping software. And if you watched the first video, you'll know that we're going to call it small accounts because that's the domain I have. So just watch the first video if you want more information on that. So we looked at some of the things that we need in that first video, so we need to think about installation now. So in this video we're just going to look at the installation of the two separate code repositories that we said we were going to use. So for the server we've got Laravel, and for the front end we're going to use VueJS. So very simple video in this one. So let's start the ball rolling with that. So we need to bring up our terminal window. Okay, so this is where we left it off from video 1, where we were looking at the different things that are installed. So I'm just going to clear this. In fact, I'll make it a bit bigger just to make it easy to see. Okay. So we're in our Valet folder now. I've set up my Valet so that anything inside this folder, any subfolders, will become websites immediately usable on our local machine. So you'll see that as soon as we've installed this. Let's install it first of all. So as we said, we need to use Composer to install Laravel. So it's a simple one-line command. Composer create project Laravel preferred dist, and then the name of the folder. Just gonna make that a bit bigger, make sure that's okay. So Composer create project Laravel preferred dist small accounts. That's absolutely fine. So while that's installing, I'll just tell you these bits. So Composer is obviously the package manager that we're using to install the PHP project, and we'll use Composer to install other libraries as well in the project. Create project is the instruction. This Laravel here is the owner of the code that we're going to download. So Laravel is the owner. This one is the name of the actual code base that we're downloading, because he could have more than one. This Laravel could have, could have one, could have a million. So this, he just happens to have called, I say he, they happen to have called this one Laravel, which is the name of the framework we're downloading. Preferred dist just means don't bring out down a dev version like a bleeding edge. We're not interested in that. So we're just going to get like a relatively stable version. And then this is the name of the folder that we're going to install it into, which is small accounts. So it installs all these necessary libraries, and hopefully at the end of this we have it installed, and that's excellent. So what we can do now is cd into small accounts. Now the Laravel Valet system means that just by simply installing a Laravel package into the small accounts folder, immediately locally we now have a usable site, and all we have to do is put the name of the folder and .test at the end of it, and there we go. That is the beauty of Laravel Valet, is that we have our site up and running, as simple as that. Now if you followed my Node.js videos, it took a bit more than that. Maybe I was doing it the long way around, but this way it was just one line and then we're on. Now obviously we've got to add a lot of libraries to this for you to use the various facilities, but the site is up and running. This is our local site that we can use for testing. So that's the server, so let's leave that one there. So what about the client? Let's go into my Vue folder. Now this is where I happen to keep all my Vue files. Hopefully you've got the Vue installed from the original Asteroids playlist that we did. So Vue is just simply Vue create, and again the name of the folder. Vue create small accounts. So this now will create the folder and download all the Vue libraries. Oh, this is just the preset of how I want it. I'll just pick the ones I normally use. So now this is installing the front-end client small accounts, which we'll be able to run in the browser. So probably a good time to explain this. We have the server here which we're running in the browser, and if we were not using a Vue.js front end, if we were just using it in the traditional PHP way with HTML files, then we could build the web app in here. We could do it within Laravel, and we wouldn't even need to use Vue.js for hardly anything whatsoever. In fact, we wouldn't have to use it. we could basically create it in here, and if ever we needed to use any JavaScript, we could just use a bit of jQuery, which is another language that's been around for a while, another JavaScript language. So that could be one way to do it, and maybe once we've done the other front ends, we could come back and look at doing a Laravel front end. But for now, we're not going to do it like that. We're going to use the server purely as a means to provide data, and that's all. Everything else is going to be managed, the whole user interface and everything else is going to be managed by the client. This server, this small accounts.test, is just to provide the usable data and to receive instructions to perhaps update that data. So that will become more apparent as we go along. So let's look at the front end package. Okay, so it gives us the instructions here to cd into that folder, and then you remember when we were doing the front end on the asteroids, we had npm run serve. So it's the same again here. I don't know why I put 2 spaces in there. Anyway, that's worked fine. So what will happen now is this will create our development server for the front end. There we go, in localhost 8080. Now, because I do a lot of development on this site, I'm just going to change this. So I'm going to Control-C that, and I want to change a file. So this is probably a good time to bring up Visual Studio Code. So this is going to be where we're going to edit all our code. In fact, what I'm going to do is make that full screen. So this I've just done by creating a new window. I'm going to add a folder to the workspace. So if I go to Valet and small accounts, so I can add this small accounts now as a folder. So this is the server, remember, the Laravel, but I can also add the client as well as a separate folder. So remember that the two don't talk to each other, but we can still manage them as 2 separate entities together. So I can go to view small accounts and add that. So we now have 2 folders in here called small accounts. So we just remember that the top one is Laravel and the bottom one is view. Okay, so I just wanted to make a change in the view. So this view CLI service, when we do npm run serve, I just want to add a port number here. So I don't want to use the default port number. So I'm going to do --port, and then we'll give it port. Let's do 35. No, let's do 8100. 8100. Why not? I have so many different ports. In fact, no. Let me do 8200 just to be sure. Okay. So now, if I go back here and try and run npm run serve again, so we should have 8200. There we go. So it's now running it on our new port number. So what that means is we can take this, create a new tab, and there we are. We have our VueJS SPA ready to run. Now we need to add frameworks to this to make it a full-blown SPA, single page app. We obviously have to add frameworks to this to use more features for the back end, but we have our 2 sites up and running. So we're going to call an end to that particular video, or this particular video here, and then in the next video we'll start looking at some more of the libraries we need in order to make this more compatible. I almost forgot to mention that something we're doing different on this particular channel, and possibly playlists, and on future playlists, is after each video I'm going to upload the code to a GitHub repository. In fact, there'll be 2 GitHub repositories, one for the server for Laravel and one for the front end for Vue. In fact, I'm going to show you them here. So these are the repositories. I've made them public, so you can download these and you can tinker with them, develop your own thing from them. If you want to contribute back, you can submit pull requests so that I can possibly implement that in future videos. In fact, if any decent pull requests come in, I'll actually incorporate them in the video as I'm doing them, and acknowledge who that's from. That would be really good. But it's just so also if you're picking up this series of videos partway through and you don't want to code from the very beginning, if you're just happy to watch the videos and then pick up the code from where you are, then you can do that as well, and you'll be able to download it at any given point in the development process. So I'll put a link to these two repositories in the description of this video and in future videos, and any other information regarding that I need to give, I'll put in future videos as well. So sorry about that, I almost forgot to put that in last minute. I hope that you'll find this useful.